Hi everyone, this is Sally again, and with my Magic Mike Moments segments. Today I'm interviewing Kristen Hobby, who's in Singapore. Hi Kristen.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us. So let me give you a little bit of a background about Kristen. Kristen is an expert in young children's spirituality and wellbeing. And as a coach, she helps busy mums find inner peace, reduce stress and anxiety, and reconnect with themselves, their children, and their families. Whoa, this sounds pretty interesting and stuff I want to learn about. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you came to be doing what you're doing these days?
Yeah, sure. So I have a background in counselling and I trained to be a spiritual director. So spiritual director is a little bit like a counsellor, but they work with people one-on-one and talk about their spiritual journey. So sort of the deeper stuff of life, kind of life, death, and the universe. And really, really loved it. And then I was doing a master's, finished my master's, and then I had a baby. And when she was 3, I went to visit an early learning centre that was quite close by. I'd heard some good things about it. And I walked in and for the sort of the orientation, and my daughter's off and playing and things. And it was actually, I reflected on this a little while ago. That was the moment. That was the moment that led me to this, because what happened was I walked into this beautiful environment. Like it's set on 80 hectares of natural bush setting. The kids go for a walk every week. There's only kind of natural products, so the kids play with sticks and beautiful wooden blocks and all that sort of stuff. And I had this moment which I was reflecting on again recently about, I want to be 3 again. Like I want to be 3 and I want to be back here. But I think there was actually something more about that moment. It was more about, I want to do it again. I want to do it knowing what I know now. I want to go back to being 3 and 4, and I want to be able to have my life without sort of, the other things that kind of might have got in the way. So it was sort of then that I really got interested in young children and their sense of spirituality and connectedness and well-being. And the school did a weekly walk. So as I mentioned, it was on a big block of land. They'd take a little wagon, and in the wagon they would have their water bottles and their scraps for the chooks, and they'd go and collect eggs, and they'd go through the fairy forest. And it was this really beautiful, magical kind of weekly experience for all the kids. So the school was very open, and very inclusive, and so everyone was welcome to come along on the walk. So when I could, I'd go along and join them on their weekly walk. And I started to sort of see there's something about this walk, something about taking the kids out, largely unstructured, into the natural bush setting of the school, where they jumped in puddles and they climbed trees and they built cubby houses and they fished with sticks and all of that. And when I finished my master's, I thought, I'm never studying again. But I sort of thought, if I did study, I would love to study this. There's something really special about it. So I enrolled in a PhD, and that was when Bella was, I think she was 4 or 5, and it's under examination. So it's been a long kind of 8 years of plugging away. But it's really interesting. I never got sick of the topic. Like I'm really still just as passionate about young children's spirituality and how we can nurture their spirit and their soul. I did get sick of the editing and the writing and the academic, kind of pursuit. So it was really kind of that time. And then the teachers found out that I loved doing mindfulness and meditation. So they invited me in to do meditation sessions with the kids, which was just awesome. And then one day I was there, and one of the parents said, you should write a book and put all your meditations in a book. Because I was just sort of making them up and writing about going on the beach and going on a magic carpet and a forest. And that's a good idea. So I wrote this and self-published this little book called Nurturing a Gentle Heart. And and then it sort of just come from, kind of led me down this path of, just really interested in it.
Oh, it just sounds so beautiful. But there must have been a number of challenges and hurdles that you came across to get to where you are today. It's, any skepticism or, the challenges that you came across. Love to hear about those.
Yeah. So, I think like all of us, I didn't have a particularly ideal, kind of childhood. My parents had me very young. My mum was 18 when she had me, and and I really don't think my parents were that equipped to really give me sort of the nurture and kind of what I needed. So, that was a little tough. But, and I think and really it's sort of the PhD journey, which unless you've kind of been with someone close to go through it, you kind of don't really have any sense of just how much work and how much time and effort goes into it. It's like, it's just there all the time, you know. You can't sort of sit down and read a book or watch TV because there's always another article to read or another bit of writing to do. And I changed supervisors, and then I moved to Singapore halfway through, so I had to kind of finish it by distance. And really one of the challenges actually was that my main supervisor was an expert in early childhood, fantastic, but had no sense of spirituality or religion or anything. So I kind of felt like I had to keep kind of proving something that's largely mysterious, that's largely hard to pin down, and trying to put it into an academic framework. And I felt like it was sort of like a round, round peg in a square hole, like just trying, and I'd say something to my supervisor about, oh, there's something magical about this walk. She goes, no. You can't tell me there's something. Find it, quantify it, put it in a framework, So a lot of it was me almost like having to sort of prove that there was something, so yeah. And then I think along the way you do kind of let go of some of your dreams and some of the things that really got you into it, because like, for example, my hypothesis, I wanted to prove that children spending unstructured time in nature, just playing, fed and nurtured their spirituality. Well, I couldn't actually get the data to prove that in a way that academia wanted. So I kind of then went down the path of looking at spirituality within early childhood curriculum and a whole kind of different thing, which was okay, but it's a little part of me died at that point, that I still think there is something, I just couldn't kind of put it in a framework. So
yeah. And I was thinking part of the challenge also was, a lot of kids are in these inner city areas and, it's built up and it's fast paced and there isn't nature around it. It's all concrete jungle and
absolutely.
A lot of that in childcare in the cities now that they've got. And, it's pollution all around and, very hard to encourage all that spiritual nature sort of feel when it's mum and dad are rushed and pace, anxious, stress, all surrounding them. So, that's quite...
Absolutely. And that's really the story in Singapore. Singaporean parents really don't have any sort of, like, outside's dirty. You don't go outside. Well, for a start, it's hot and humid all the time. So, the weather isn't particularly, kind of kind to going out and exploring. But they just don't have... Their model of education is numeracy illiteracy. It's getting kids tutored in kindergarten to get through to the right school and the right university. It's work. And there's virtually no emphasis or appreciation for play, just letting kids play, let alone playing outside, let alone nurturing their spirituality. It's like I'm talking another language up here.
Yeah.
I've got two kids.
Yeah, so I mean, with this group, with young children, what do you feel is the biggest sort of issue facing the niche or facing your group of kids that you're working with? I mean, part of it is that environment that you're mentioning, I suppose. Yeah,
sure. There's that. And, a lot of data backs that up, that kids are getting less and less access to outdoor environments. I think the other thing is, generally speaking, and this isn't all parents, but just generally speaking, people underestimate children. They underestimate young children's capacity for appreciating, for observing, for making meaning of life. They think that experiences happen and kids will just forget them, or, that they're too young, too little to make meaning, to really talk about, different things. And so I feel like I keep talking, like I said, I feel like I keep talking another language, that there are people that just, what do you mean that 3-year-olds have a spirituality? What are you talking about? What are you talking about nurturing their spirituality? They're just 3. They're just kids. So I had this really interesting experience. So about 6 months ago or so, we were over at you can take a ferry to Indonesia, and there's a couple of resorts on an island called Bintan. So we're over there, and it was really beautiful because it was the releasing of the baby turtles. So this particular resort had, so they had this program where they would, have safe environments for the hatching of the turtles, and then all the little turtles all hatched, within a few days. And then they got all the turtles, and they got all the kids in the resort, and they gave them each a turtle in a little bucket, and they got to hold the bucket. And then when the time was right, they let the turtle go, and they were maybe 10, 15 meters from the water, and they would just let the turtles go, and the turtles would just go down into the water and swim off. And anyway, I was just standing watching. My daughter was doing it, and I was just watching this little girl. She was probably 3 or 4, and she was fine when the turtle was on the beach, but as soon as the turtle got near the water, she started crying and crying. She was inconsolable. Anyway, I was just kind of watching, and the parents were nearby, and they were sort of, doing all the things that parents do. Oh, come on, it's fine, da-da-da. Anyway, after the little girl had settled down, I thought, I can't help myself. I have to go and have a conversation with this mum. So I went up and I just said, it's, do you know why maybe she was so upset? I noticed that your daughter was so upset. Have you got any idea? Yeah. And she said, I don't know what got into her. And I thought, okay. And as we're talking, the little girl starts wandering down to the water, and her mum whips around and says, no, don't go to the water. Come back. And I had this moment, and I said to her, you don't think that the little girl associates water with danger? And the mum goes, what are you talking about? I said, well, if I was 3 and I saw the water as a dangerous place, and I've got this beautiful baby turtle, and I'm about to let it go into what is considered a dangerous, bad area, do you think maybe there might be a connection? And the woman looks at me, oh, well, maybe. I said, look, I'm doing a PhD and da-da-da, and I explained myself. And I said, look, could I just make a suggestion? And she said, yeah. I said, look, perhaps tonight when giving her a bath, or over the next couple of days, maybe just sit down and just ask her about what happened and how she felt and what it was like to let go of the turtle. And she looked at me, she goes, well, she's not going to remember. I said, I think you'll be quite surprised. I said, she'll remember this for many, many weeks, if not months. My research showed that children could remember things up to 12 months, and be really capable of going right back into that moment, what they were thinking, what they were feeling. I said, you might want to maybe invite her to draw a picture of, so she can remember the story. And this lady was like absolutely blown away that, first of all, there was that link between the sea, but then that that she would sit down and talk to the child about it. It was just, I thought, it's just such a foreign concept, but I don't know. So I always think I just plant seeds. I maybe planted a little seed. You never know. She might have had a conversation with her daughter, but I think that's kind of what I'm up against. It's this assumption of some parents that their kids are just little. They don't remember things. They're too little to make sense of the world. That they're sort of that inner world, their inner journey is really not that important until they get older. So
I think that's a really good point you made about underestimating kids, but in spirituality with kids, like when they're born and they're so untainted by the rest of the world, and you can see it as they grow, and once they start getting to school and coming in,
there's a really lovely theory, it's called point versus line mode. So when children are born, they have no sense of like past, present, future. It's just the now, and you talk about Eckhart Tolle talks about this, there is no. And as children get older, they get pushed more and more into this, which I think is probably like a society convention that says there is a past, a present, and a future. And you can just see that they lose the magic of being just living beautifully in the present. Like little kids will just spend hours on Lego, and that's all they're doing. They're not worrying about what some conversation they had yesterday. They're not worried about what they're having for dinner. They're just in that moment. And I think free. They're free. And then the gift of that, that moment. So
So leading on with some of those issues facing you, what would you say would be 3 top tips to help overcome the issues that the kids are facing, like parents with the assumptions or whatever? Any recommendations?
So I think so what I've been doing in the last few months is taking my PhD and looking at as what can I take from that? What's the wisdom, and making it really accessible and really useful, because let's face it, less than a handful of people are ever going to read your thesis. But one of the things that I really, really liked was the idea of, so what I came up with in my thesis was 4 pathways of spirituality. So one is relationships and connection, which I'm going to come back to because my 3 tips are in that. Yep. Creativity and imagination, the importance of just allowing kids to be creative and playing. Awe and wonder, that sense that, young children have of, oh my gosh, the spider's web, or look at the ants crawling up the tree, or oh my God, look at the moon. And then the last one is the power of reflection and just going back into experiences and talking with children. But my 3 tips would be just around relationships and connection. So the 3 aspects that I look at is relationship to self, so children's relationships to themselves, relationships to other people, to each other, and then the outside world and community, and the outside world can be nature. So when we look at relationships with ourselves, one of the best ways is just to allow children to be, like we were talking before. So, things like mindfulness, or just quiet time, or just, just allowing kids just, they don't have to have a device in their hand 24/7. They don't have to be entertained on a car trip. They don't have to be entertained when they're getting their hair cut or at a restaurant. Just allow them just to be in the moment and experience, different life events. I just see, I'm not anti-technology by any stretch, but when it starts to impact on who we are and how we interact with the world, then we really need to kind of ask that question. And then just around, the second one is around communication and connection with each other. So it really just comes down to just listening to our kids, just asking open-ended questions, asking them about, different things. And I think sometimes we get into a bit of a rut with our kids. How was your day? What'd you do? Rather than using those moments, sitting around the dinner table, or just, the bath time, or as you're putting them to bed, and just, what made you laugh today? What was the best bit about today? Did you help anybody today? What did you learn today? Just things, so that you're just reframing it and you're just opening it up for them, opportunities for them just to share. My daughter got so sick of that one about who did you help today. She's like, you keep asking me this one. But it's such a beautiful one, because, she would come home and I'd say, who did you help today? She goes, oh, and she'd stop and she'd go, well, actually, Jack was having a bit of problems with maths and I was able to help him. And you just get these glimpses, you just get these other views of our kids, rather, what did you do? How was your day? So just listening and not kind of, I think one of the things with parenting is sometimes we think we have to have all the answers. So a kid will ask a question and we'll go, oh, well, this is the answer, rather than allowing exploration. So, feedback. So, a child might say, why is the sky blue? And instead of going down into a scientific thing about light beams and things, what do you think? Why? Let's explore together. Let's go and let's look up a book together, or let's draw a picture and let's find the perfect blue for the sky. There's so many different ways to engage those questions, rather than thinking we have to have the answers, and if you just give an answer, then that's all we've done. Tick, next question. Rather than seeing those as moments of exploration, moments of connection.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sorry.
No, go on.
And then the third one is just, realizing that we are part of a larger community and we live, so that time spent outdoors. There's a really lovely concept called the forest schools, which is mainly around Europe and Scandinavia. And the idea is that kindergarten is time spent in a natural bush setting. So there isn't a classroom. The classroom is a patch of bush or a forest. And the kids go out. There's no such thing as inappropriate clothing, no such thing as bad weather. It's just inappropriate clothing. So you dress them up and they go out and they climb trees and they build cubby houses and that's their kindergarten. Like, that's how they start. So all the research, when you look at it, pretty much every measure other than numeracy and literacy, which they catch up with anyway, every other measure, gross and fine motor skills, immune system, cooperation, collaboration, appreciation for nature, all these things are higher in kids that have spent time outside. So, and the other thing that blows me away is there's an article a study came out 2010 from the US. 30 minutes a day in nature for kids is as effective, if not more effective, than Ritalin for kids with ADHD.
Whoa.
Now, I look at that and I think you have a choice between popping a pill or going sending your kids to the park where they can just run around and play on the grass and look at the clouds.
Whoa,
That
it's
just
giving me
seems like a
goosebumps.
no-brainer to me. No.
It's funny that you're actually based in Singapore when we're talking
No,
about
I know,
it.
it's so ironic.
It's, you know, and that is a challenge with it all. And, you know, I just love how it's a huge reminder that kids are very in tune from a very young age, and we shouldn't have these assumptions. And that turtle story is a beautiful analogy of, you know, what we're instilling into our children and then expecting them to understand the reverse, you know, and the water isn't dangerous, but it is for you, but it's not for the turtle. Like, yeah. We did an exercise recently on a retreat I was at, and they said, don't stand up and don't sit down and don't clap your hands. And the processing of trying to understand the don't as opposed to do stand up or just please sit down, you know, reversing it around. So our language with the children can be very, very very
So
confusing.
Powerful.
Yeah, very powerful, very, very powerful. And I love how you say just let kids be. Like, stop at them. This 24/7 world, we're at them constantly, either from us or at school, or the pressures or the demands. Poor little brains are just going out of control. I mean, I've got 4 kids and they just chill sometimes, and I just go, that's your time. Just like zone out. I go in, what are you doing? Nothing. And they're just being. And, you know, I mean, as adults, we have to struggle to find that be time. And so for kids that are having to process so much to become an adult or on their journey, you know, that chill out time is really important. So if we can take away sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, you know, the research that 5 or 10 minutes of mindfulness, and mindfulness can be a walk in the park, mindfulness can be sitting, chilling, can be having a bath, it can be whatever mindfulness means for you, it can be some people meditation, some people looking at a candle, whatever. It reprograms the brain. It reduces anxiety, it reduces depression, particularly in teenagers. It increases compassion, altruism. You know, like, I just think it's so, like, just 5 or 10 minutes a day, you know, and some kids don't even get that. And if you never learn as a kid how to be comfortable with your own company, how to, you know, like, you end up with, as adults who can't sit still, who don't know how to relax, who can't go on a holiday because they've never learned just
don't know how to do it. Yeah.
They don't know how to do it. They don't know. Like, a lot of people can't even be in silence. They have to have the radio on or TV on or something. They can't just be, you know, just sit and be.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. Oh, look, I could talk about this all the time. I love what you're doing, and it is a really good reminder that, you know, kids, we can learn so much from them. We so can, you know. It's a work in progress. Nobody's perfect. You know, it's taken me some teenagers to actually start getting it with my kids, and you know, and as you said, I wish I could take it back. You know, you said with what you've learned throughout the time, and. But I'm going to keep laughing that you're in Singapore and, you know, trying to do this work. Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes I think, well, I have these moments where I think maybe I'm exactly the right person in the right place at the right time.
Oh, maybe Singapore needs me. That's what's been coming through me while I'm sitting here. I'm thinking, you know, another challenge to break in and get that awareness happening. It's beautiful. So, look, Kristen, at the end of the day, out of everything you do, what's the thing that drives you the most? What are you most passionate about?
I'm most passionate about nurturing children's spirituality and their inner world, their well-being, and actually taking the time and the intention to really nurture them so that they, you know, like, I think, you know, we started this conversation about how my childhood was, you know, my parents weren't particularly great, and, you know, you do the work and you go and do the counselling and everything. Imagine if you could go back and actually parent in a way where children could let go of stuff. They could work through things. They could let go of things. So they get to like their parent, you know, they get to kind of, you know, their adult years or when they get to parent, and they're free of all of that crap, to be honest. They're free of that baggage. They're free of those limiting beliefs. They're just happy to be in their own company. They're calm. They've got self-acceptance, self-love. They're resilient. You know, so that's what I'm super passionate about it. And it's really simple. Like, they're really simple strategies of just, you know, having quiet time, doing a couple of mindfulness activities, listening to your kids, reflecting on experiences. Like, nothing I'm saying is rocket science. Like, most of us, you know, nothing we say is brand new or anything, but so important, just these simple things that can have such a profound impact on children's lives.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love it. So if people are wanting to find out more about what you're doing or get in touch with you, where can I send them?
So I've got a website and a Facebook group with the same name called The Mindful Parent. So mindfulparent.info and The Mindful Parent on Facebook. You can catch me there. It's quite a few resources and articles and things, and hoping to bring out an online course in the next few months called The Ultimate Happy Family Blueprint. So wanting to take some of these things and help parents and families to be happier and calmer.
Brilliant. I think I'll be signing up for that. Awesome. That's awesome. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It was great.
Oh, can't wait to start looking into what you're doing and finding more out about that and chatting with you again down the track.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thanks
Sally.
again.
Thanks for
We'll
having
chat
me.
soon. See ya.
Thank you.